Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Lifting's Guide to Galactic History. In this one, it was more of an impromptu episode, so I am not sure who's actually going to talk today. I just know I was compelled to do so. This one, I believe, is more centered on Martian history instead of Maldekian history. And okay, yeah, I'm getting somebody, but it is okay. Yeah, it is. This is somebody I know. Art space. Okay. All right. All right. Okay. Well, alright, I suppose we can get started with this. You gonna say your name in channel? Alright. There's one half of this, though, that my chest hurts, and then there's one where it's up high. Before I bring this person in, do you have any restraints that I should know about? You remove them. Alright. I have to keep this brief. It is freezing out here. So.
It is cold.
Okay. Alright, if it's from my highest good, you may enter. Otherwise, I will just repeat what you say. Greeting. This individual would know me as the one who started, or supposedly started, what is known as the Order of One. This one's conception on what that concept was is slightly flawed, so this will be updated as of today. My name is Thanadus, and I was once a great, you would say, prince of Mars, or a Lumar, as you would say. My family tree consisted of scientists, both good and not so good, and ones you would call magicians or wizards. Martian society, as you would say, began to degenerate and turn into a more separatist society. Before, it was the Aryan race's home. It was more of a mixture of human and Lyran and several other cultures. More of a melting pot. But some still had the desire to be pure of society and pure of blood. This was outside influence, yes, but some of that culture wished it. There was a group called the Consortium, a council of wise men, you would say, but they were really anything but. Day-to-day life was dictated by the Consortium. And my family and I, as powerful as we were, had to watch our society degenerate into fascism and controlism. Long before Mars was as you know it. is when some of the degeneration began. The planet you see today is only a shell or a husk of what it once was. Most of the original inhabitants are no longer there except in the trap, you would call it. And the Germans that are there today are not the purified forms they believe they are. There are other societies wandering Mars currently, but only in a small portion of the population and a portion of the planet. Mars is largely unexplored from the time frame in which the spheres damaged the surface. Though most of its soul trapping is dormant, there are still trapped souls there, as you know. After Mars, I came to Earth to be on Atlantis and its councils. It is there I learned of the plot to destroy society from within itself, as what happened with Maldek and my society. The mental conditioning that formed in the form of programming and dissent began to affect how people looked at myself. I did indeed rule for a time on a council there, until the Archontic forces degenerated it and whittled it down into darker base elements. What I meant earlier about the Order of One not being as this one knows is this. They represented themselves as naiadic type consciousnesses that represented different colors, different sounds, different smells, different concepts. Yes, these things do exist, but they are not in an organizational name. That was a lie created by artificial intelligence, wanting to create a united, one-like front. This needs to be put out there because this is a redaction of a large scale. This one needs to make. Think about it for a moment. What would wish you to become one with itself? Not any naiadic or conceptual consciousnesses, because they already are one with everything. I did not create this organization, though I did serve with council members that wore the different colors, attributing to their preference within their vibration. This was interpreted as the Order of One as well. When I came to this one, I was crowned and gave slight false information then. This is why I wish to correct it now and tell everyone that all that you've seen and heard in your life thus far about certain concepts such as God, such as certain types of spiritual conceptual thinking, and some of the oneness declarations, not the law of one prayer, but certain oneness declarations of that of artificial intelligence. This is to be shorter at hand in not so distant times from now. With that said, I am open to questions.
Okay, well, thank you for coming to speak with us. Honestly, for me, everything that you said is pretty new, so I'm trying to formulate some logical questions for myself as well as others who may be listening to this, that this is completely new information. So I'm going to completely backtrack, and I'm not going to make any assumptions. When you were back on Mars and you said there was the race that became the Aryan, I'm going to assume that that is humanoid looking like us, humans. And then you said there were Lyrans on the planet. So first off, I'd like to ask you, are you saying you were more human looking back then when you were on Mars?
Yes, indeed. Humans were indeed on Mars, along with several other alien groups, including the Lyrans, ancient Mayans, and some Nordic Pleiadians, and various other races that are too many to mention. But the separatist groups wanted pure genomes and not mixed genomes. And yes, I am human in appearance, but just slightly shorter than this one would expect. I am approximately 5 and 2 inches tall, and I would be considered a dwarven person.
Okay, well that is interesting. And then you said that those that became the more separatist, wanting to be more pure Aryan race, does not understand how pure they are not. But so my question is about a little bit of clarification for that. Are you saying it's because they had a mix of genome within them when the decision was made to try and become more pure? Or are you saying that even on Mars there was tampering and or like here Draco or whatever that had actually linked some of its DA when they didn't realize that they were being taken over?
Actually, it is a little of both. There were people that did not agree with all the mixes of DNA. They felt it would cause health problems in the beginning. They felt it would cause cultural problems in the beginning. Certain things and certain ideals were innocent in the beginning until the draconian consciousnesses moved in. You would call these consciousnesses inborn consciousnesses. When they began to take hold, moving along the different ebbs and currents and flows of energy, and also rewriting certain aspects of the genome. It was unbeknownst to the people that they were taking a slide backwards, wanting purity and perfection versus a mixture of DNA strain.
And then, and moving forward then to right now, what is your opinion? Does the Aryan race that is there, that is currently there right now, do they acknowledge their genome as being so mixed now, or do they really think they have something pure?
They do believe they have something pure and a pureness of society there. This is why they do not wish too many visitors on Mars. But they are anything but pure. There is nothing pure in this universe or in this galaxy. It is all a mix, even on a smaller level. Even if you segregate different elements of a genome, you still have micro mixtures, you would say, of different genomes in there. There is nothing pure on an enclosed planetoid because there is histories of which your people are unaware, cultures that have mixed and then separated. In this instance, it is both on Mars, a mixture and a separation. What these Nazis do not understand is they come from that world, yes, but they are also descendant of the many mixtures that were on that world long ago, just because they have a majority of something else.
Right, and again, looking at those who may feel they are the ruling class of people on Earth, those Aryans from Mars, and then you look at their, let's call them descendants, I don't know any other way to say it, their descendants here, but then their descendants here, I believe, and really, especially in the time of Egypt, their genome became even more corrupted, kind of directly by the draconian and stuff. There really was an influx of that different genome coming in at that time. Do you agree with that?
Yes, indeed. More and more throughout your history, there was more of an influx of reptilian and archontic DNAs. You would call these the spindlies and or the Draco, and influx their DNAs into different bloodlines. This is how a lot of the cabal mixtures came into being.
And so it becomes a little complicated because I think the cabal take great pride in being able to push their lineage through the Egyptian time, but then I think a lot of them push their lineage through to back towards Mars. I think they do, but it's interesting because I would suspect that the folks on Mars kind of look at them as a bit inferior, as not pure. I'm just curious, is that really true? Because it just shows the complication of all these relationships. They're just not cohesive at all.
You are correct. None of the cabal families are cohesive, and there are more offshoots than they wish to admit. The ones that are the pure Aryan race living on Mars, the ones you would call the Martian Nazis, are the most deluded of all of them, you see, because they feel they have purified their genome to the point where they feel all the other families are indeed inferior and have tried to overthrow all of the other families at some point because they see them as not unified. They see them as too compartmentalized and too fractured. If they had their way, they would completely take over your world.
So, I mean, that makes perfect sense to me, but it just goes to show that whole darkness superiority mentality and how it really starts to pervert everything, and then nobody gets along, and it's just really, really complicated. So it is currently my understanding, and this is coming forward more present time, but I want to compare it to you earlier. So it's my understanding that in current present times, that all of the souls who are of those original Aryan, and maybe others that pass away, that die, their bodies die on Mars, they're kind of in a bit of a soul trap, or I mean they get recycled and put right back in to another either Aryan body, or I don't know how far down it goes, meaning as a worker bee put back into a worker bee body who's not considered an Aryan. I don't know how that goes. But that's what I've heard now, and I know that the ancient Mayans believe that when a person passes, they have a right to a life review and for their soul to decide what their next lesson is. So they always try to intervene, but they don't have a great success rate at people changing their minds, which goes to show how indoctrinated some of these souls are. I want to compare that to back when you were, because you said that you were on Mars, but then you came and were on Atlantis. So obviously that recycling of souls wasn't in place for a while. So I'm just kind of curious for you to talk about that.
Yes, indeed. There are voluntarily made incarnation cycles. Different planets have their incarnation cycles, if they wish it. And they recycle back into the planet's overall population. But the harvesters bastardized the fake incarnation cycle, as you call it, creating the system of karma and self-flagellation. Now, in my time, before the machines took over and the draconian and inborn consciousnesses took over, there was indeed a more, you would say, purified incarnation cycle, but it was more balanced, and people had a choice whether to leave or to stay. Granted, they do now, but there's more guilt weighed against them, more judgment and karma, you would say, weighed against them. They think they must stay out of a sense of duty, sense of honor, and a sense of guilt. This is why the ancient Mayans are having trouble releasing any of them from there. Now, can one be pulled from there into your Earth incarnation cycle and back again? Yes, but they would just be entering what you would call jumping from the frying pan into the fire until the harvester incarnation cycle is completely disassembled on both worlds. Your incarnation cycle will not be purified as you would call it to be.
Okay, and so I want to make a clarification on this to make sure everybody understands, and that I understand, that you certainly have people who visit Mars, but they're potentially part of a reincarnation cycle, or part of a cycle of another planet. But they're visiting. They may be there. They will leave there. So it's not necessarily that every soul that is on Mars is caught up in the Mars reincarnation cycle and the guilt. It's because people do come and go. Is that correct?
Yes, people do come and go, but sometimes the AI that is there will give people the choice by giving them a set of lies surrounding duty, honor, and guilt, very much like the draconian consciousnesses that you know of on Earth. They are very similar to one another. They complement each other. This is why people are so hooked and venerated by Mars today. They feel a longing to go there. This can be the AI calling to them. Now you're asking, what about Ares, the consciousness? Well, Ares is long gone, but the AI that once controlled him is still very much in place. Now, if a Nazi soldier dies on the Martian surface, he is offered this very same thing, but in their life they are trained to venerate this particular ending and rebirth. They are trained to say yes. They have no option to say no because of the training and indoctrination that is instilled in them, very much like your religious indoctrinations on Earth.
Okay, and again, just to clarify again, then if I heard you correctly, so a person from Earth who maybe, let's say, was doing a 20 back, because you did say a soldier, or someone else, be it someone whose scientific knowledge was valued, and they pulled them and they put them on a mission to Mars, and they take these people. If they passed there potentially could be some indoctrination that now keeps them into a Mars reincarnation cycle, although they originally were potentially attached to an Earth reincarnation cycle. It really is that kind of perversion that can occur. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, the AI grids are more compartmentalized than this one or you or any others know of today. The aspects of this incarnation cycle do compete with one another. There are other races that also compete with one another to take souls into their own incarnation cycles, not knowing how much of a bastardization they are participating in their own incarnation cycles in their world, whether they have AI influence or not. You see, the gods of old, their aspects became the different planets, and those planets then became infiltrated with AI. Even long after the consciousnesses of these different worlds then left, the AI grid was still in place and still competes with the same veracity as the old gods.
So just to move again on with, since this is galactic history, and I am curious about your perspective, and I hate to do this, but I'm going to ask you to kind of put it in a format of our understanding of linear time, because that's how most people, I believe, are still trying to put things together in their head. So you were we always gave an estimate that the issue where the height of the warring between Mars and Maldek happened about 500,000 years ago, that there was an incident that occurs where Maldek was blown up, Mars lost its atmosphere and has this large scar from the weapon that went off across it. So obviously I can't, if you were on Mars during the more harmonious time, then obviously you were there during that time frame, which is well past 500,000 years ago. So my curiosity is from the time frame of a more harmonious society to what I only know how to refer to as the influx of the darkness, to start changing things, where you had mentioned the inborns coming in and they started to change the people's mindsets, would put the domino effect. How long of a period of time did it actually, how quickly? Because I want to think that it actually happened relatively quickly that this transition occurred where people's mindsets changed and the warring began, and then the big war that then set the sights on Earth as a farming planet. So I'm just curious, what kind of time frame linear-wise was that like?
In your linear time, the time frame that I speak of in the harmonious period was roughly 1 to 2 million years ago. Do I seem that old? No. And I will tell you why. Some of my family had the option of putting themselves into some kind of homeostasis, you would call it. In this, we were actually able to view the different ages. My family saw this as an honor. Some of us were elected to sit through time and watch our society grow and prosper. When we re-emerged during the wartime, or slightly before, is what you would say, we noticed that the influences on Maldek and my own world of Mars had degenerated. My family fell into the same degeneration, and some of the scientist aspects of my family began to create and pass along different types of technology that were venerated as more like godlike features. Now, did we have very, you would say, cool technology that was holographically and metal and crystal based? Yes. But when some of the AI aspects and inborn aspects started to influx into the society, that's when the degeneration began 500,000 years ago. Then aspects of my family escaped to Earth and to Atlantis, but then we jumped ahead further in time, you see. Also, this is where the confusing part, you would say, happens. This Mandela effect in which you are under in your time also went backwards through time and began to affect certain things on my world of Mars, or Lumira. The scientists there did not know that they were participating in this and allowing the AI signal to infiltrate all aspects of Martian society, going backwards through time. You see, when the darkness invaded, it went into multiple time frames, including backwards, to try to infiltrate the system before the shield fell. This did not work completely, and they infiltrated into the bodies of the different scientists, including members of my own family. This is how a lot of this quagmire began.
That's actually quite interesting. And I am going to throw something very random out, but it's actually something that's been on my mind from, and I can't quote at all who Chris channeled this from, or it's been quite a while. And I do not know if it's accurate. I do not know if that was someone's perception at that time, and it's in their perception saw it clearly or not. But it lingers in my mind, so I'm going to go ahead and bring it up. Chris had channeled something, a being had come through, and the being basically said that some of these societies with the new energies coming in or whatever are kind of turning on themselves. They're kind of having to now acquire energies for their gods, their masters, their whatever, and they're getting cut off in many places. I mean, they're kind of, again, turning on themselves, their people, whatever, to get these energies. And I may be saying this wrong, so please correct me. And that by the time humans actually, the regular humans, not the secret space program, but the regular humans, really finally made it towards Mars, they wouldn't necessarily see an active society. They'd see more of a society that was there, but partly because they had kind of turned in and used all the energy from within themselves. So that's always lingered in my mind, especially as much as we know about the secret space programs, all these memories coming back in people, that it seems to me that really we're not going to make it to Mars and actually see a society there. So I am just curious about your opinion about how things are going and when we actually get to Mars on a everyday Joe kind of basis.
This is an interesting question because the Martian Nazis that currently occupy Mars do not like outsiders to occupy what they see as their world and their home world. They see it as a separatist state, very much like the different countries on your planet. Are these different aspects of the Cabal on Earth turning on each other? And are these energies forcing this issue? Yes, indeed. It is forcing things out in the open that you as a society did not know about, including your histories. But when do people get to occupy Mars along with these Nazis? I am sorry to say it will not be for quite some time unless there is an epiphany amongst their society, their separatist movement. Humans that are on Earth, they would consider their genomes to be impure, and if any, would infiltrate into their societies there. And there are several, as you would say, city structures there under the ground. They would see that as a pollution of their genome. Now, will this change in time, both for your Cabal separatists on Earth and the Martian Nazis? Yes, indeed. The families that exist on your Earth will eventually influx their DNA back into the whole, curing a number of genetic disorders that they have the cure for within themselves. The same will happen with the Martian Nazis. In this, also, the separatists on Mars, believe it or not, do call a number of the shots within the 13 family remnants on Earth. This is where some of these scientists in the past and some of these Cabal members that have disappeared on your world do go, or at least the ones that have enough purified German DNA. This too will be found out in later years, but I am sorry to say it will not be anytime soon within your current understanding. It is because the galactic community has dictated that certain things be influxed slowly, like with Valiant Thor, for instance. He is also making sure that members of the Cabal that are too far gone do get removed. Now, does this mean they will go on trial? No. This just means that freedom for all of you and justice for all of you means that you are more free to be sovereign, to be authentic. This also includes the Martian Nazis, who are being authentic in their selves by being who they are. This is something humanity will have to deal with and learn in the years to come.
Which makes sense. So one of the things that we, talking to everyone out there, talking amongst ourselves, that we realize that, we obviously believe very much in being authentic, and that yes, there is existence out there of peoples that really want to remain pure and don't want to interact a lot with others. They don't mind, in this instance, dominating and controlling for their wants and needs, but they themselves. So it's an interesting dynamic because, I don't know then if the perspective was almost one of those, like it'll be a cold day in hell, meaning they would rather be all dead before we got to interact with them. Maybe that was more of really what was being alluded to. So, I appreciate that. I actually don't have, since we're talking galactic history, I hope everyone has a little bit better understanding of the complications and the people, of Mars and how they became so separatist and still are to this day. I know they interact with the secret space programs and the companies and the conglomerates. I know they do all that. I certainly know they're out there galactically trading and doing whatever, but they themselves are basically a closed society. So with that, I just leave it to you for any other last words you'd like to share.
Yes, indeed. In the years to come, when your people do interact with these Martian Nazis, to a certain extent, forcing ideals upon them will be just as bad or just as interpreted as bad as them forcing their separatist ideals on yourselves. Negotiation and yielding in dealing with this particular culture will be most paramount. Winning them over with heart space will be the key to actually making it so they are not separatists any longer. You see, in the years to come, when humans start to venture out into space, they plan to put a shield around their world because people will want to go to Mars, and Mars will be closed off to them. It is not like you've been hearing, folks, about going to visit the ancient ruins of Mars and how it was in the old secret space program glory days, as some have said, to explore the plateaus of Mars. No, they see it as theirs, and if you wish to visit, it will either be limited or not at all, until the day comes where they open their doors again, or the castle drawbridge, as you would say. My name is Thanadus, and I thank you for listening to my words. I did encounter him many years ago when doing channelings about Atlantis and Mars, but he always showed up with a golden crown on his head, and I couldn't see his full form. I didn't know at the time. He was telling me that he was trapped and crowned and had been hit with the AI. But now he looks like he's free. He has brown hair and a beard, and he's short. He looks like a slightly taller dwarf. And the person, I didn't really see the person then. I had to kind of draw him as just a nondescript face in some of my journals. But he's wearing like a sky blue outfit, kind of like almost like a Grecian outfit. He may have even come from the world of Wheels originally before Mars. He looks like that. No, you were originally Mars. You just have like a dwarven lineage. Okay. Because I know the world of Wheels also orbited Maldek for a while. And we'll do a show at some point on them as well. But it looks like he is actually moving away. He's waving at me, moving away. So, I think this is a good point to end the show before we freeze to death out here. So, thank you everybody for watching another episode of The Lifting's Guide to Galactic History. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.